Why South Sudan? An Every Village podcast where we answer questions about the world's youngest nation. The question of the day is, what do houses look like in South Sudan? Hey everyone, this is Tianna Johnson, the host of this podcast called Why South Sudan? I'm coming to you from the studio here in Houston with Every Village's partnership manager named Blake Jones.
Hey Tianna, it's great to be back on the podcast. I always enjoy it.
Yes, and I got to announce your new title.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Same job, just a different title.
I know, it sounds fancy, right?
Yeah.
And
all about partnerships.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in a partnership, Blake.Jones at everyvillage.org.
There we go. And you also recently just came back from South Sudan.
I did, yeah. It was amazing. We spent 8 days in country, and then we were gone like basically 2 total weeks because we had a day delay getting there and a day delay getting back. So first time I've experienced a delay on both sides of the trip. It ended up being great, but it was definitely one of the more like mentally tiring trips because of those delays. But I think it might have been one of my favorite trips that I've been on in my 15 or so 14 years. Yeah.
Hey, that's great.
It was really cool. It was really awesome. So we took a team from the Met Church, and they were 4 of them, and the 4 of them really poured themselves out over the 8 days, and it was just amazing to see that. And
that's amazing.
Yeah,
I love
cool.
that.
And the staff and the community leaders that we trained were so appreciative of the training, and it was really cool to see it. So
that is awesome.
I think the Lord really he surprised me a lot on the trip. So it was
really
really
that's
cool.
such a blessing. I mean, I guess a little encouragement for you, because trips is definitely a role that I think many of us have actually carried, and we have shuffled it off to someone else because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of behind the scenes. It's a lot of mental task when you're there in person, that it's not just like, oh, I just get to spend time with people that I care about. You're having to care for Westerners that have never been in a foreign country.
Yeah, exactly.
And making sure they're drinking enough and they're eating and how are they doing emotionally. It's a lot. But you are a perfect fit for it.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, T. Yeah, I really enjoy leading trips, but it is a taxing endeavor, but really rewarding at the same time. So I'm really proud of the team that we took, and I'm proud of how the trip went. And I know that, one of the cool, this is not what we're talking about, but,
this is fun.
It's fun. It's just so cool to see when you're on the ground how appreciative the South Sudanese are for any kind of training, especially if it's spiritual training. They just crave it, and we talk about that all the time, how hungry they are. And the team trained, I think around like 60 people in total, and they were all just so thankful and so happy to be a part of it, and so happy for the opportunity. And it's really cool training. It's very basic stuff on just how to be a disciple and how to make disciples. In South Sudan, there's so much emphasis on evangelism, which is beautiful. And there just hasn't been a legacy in the church there for discipleship. And the Met Church in Houston, here in Houston, is just really strong in their discipleship model as a church and their small groups, and wanted to lead out a training for our staff and for community leaders. And it was really simple but really powerful.
That's amazing.
Be a disciple, make a disciple. It was really cool.
That's so good.
And we got to spend, I think what we'll be talking about here is houses in South Sudan, and we got to spend some time on some of our area manager compounds and see some houses in South Sudan, see what compounds look like in South Sudan. So it was really cool.
Way to spin that
in
there.
So there's the connection.
There you go. All right, yes, let's talk houses. So one, have you spent the night in a mud hut before?
I have.
Yeah?
Yep. Yeah, I've spent 5 weeks in a mud hut. My best friend and I, Mason Handfeld, spent 5 weeks in a mud hut in Nasser in 2012. And it rained almost every day, and it was like muddy and floody and really, really hard. But yeah, we lived in a mud hut. And then, that it's like, it's always hard, But after like night 2 or 3, it starts feeling like home, which is really interesting. Anytime I'm sleeping in anywhere different. And the same is true, like if I'm at a hotel room in New Orleans or a mud hut in South Sudan, or like this past trip in a tent for 6 days. Like I start looking forward to it, And so I always think that's kind of interesting. It's so crazy to say that you've lived in a mud hut, but it felt like home to me,
Yeah, no, it's so true.
But it was hard.
Yeah, I spent one night in a mud hut, and imagine, like, you don't have running water, you don't have electricity, you're just in a hut. I mean, you're hearing every sound. We don't have a sound machine going.
Right. Yeah.
You don't have the hum
outlets,
of like AC, or anything. I mean, like, you're just hearing the outside sound. But even thinking of how the house is built, it's actually pretty cool that it creates airflow. So you do get a little bit depending on the season. But yeah, it's a lot different.
Yeah, I was thinking about another time that I've spent in a mud hut. There's been lots of nights, but on my first trip back in 2022, when I restarted with Every Village, I started, for the listener, 2011 to 2014, took an 8-year break, started back in 2022, and 3 weeks into the new role, I went to South Sudan, and my first night back in South Sudan, after like almost 72 hours of travel, I spent my first night in a mud hut in a place that I'd never been. Like, I went out with the team, arrived, and then when we landed, I took a 4-hour drive to a new location with some of our South Sudanese staff, and I slept in a mud hut that night without a mosquito net, and there was a bat in the hut all night, and it was like flapping around me and flying across my head, and I don't think it ever bit me. I don't have rabies, but like, it was a really disconcerting feeling. Like,
did you sleep at all?
I did, because I was so tired. I mean, that was like a 72-hour excursion getting to that for me to sleep for the first time. But I was falling asleep, and the bat was just like circling. And then at some point in the night, I said all night earlier, but at some point in the night, I got up and I told the guard, and then they came in and they got it out. But that night, I slept without a mosquito net in a mud hut, which is something I've only ever done one time.
Yeah.
No, twice. I've done that twice.
Don't recommend it, but yes.
Definitely not. Yeah. Yeah. So,
oh my goodness.
For those that don't know, the malarial mosquitoes bite at night.
Yes.
Not in the day.
Yeah. Ooh, crazy. All right, let's talk mud huts. All right.
Let's do it.
Okay, so some fun facts for our listeners is that different tribes in different areas actually build houses differently. I guess you could probably even say very similar to America. Like up north and Midwest, they're going to have basements.
Correct.
Texas, we don't.
Yeah.
So like in South Sudan specifically, so especially in areas that are going to be like more flooded, they actually elevate theirs. So think of Galveston.
Yeah, not as tall as Galveston, but yeah, there's some slight elevation. Yeah.
Yes, which is really cool. And then also too, there's such a difference between if you live in town versus live in the village. Most huts in town are actually more square, where you get out in the village are more circle. But also it depends on the tribe, because in the Jur, in Mobolo area, it's going to be mostly circle. That's just how they build huts.
Yeah.
But the Dinka do more square. And that's so interesting.
It's very interesting. Yeah, I'd say just like in America, depending on your culture and your location and the climate and the tribe, houses can look different. And you can see it pretty clearly. Like if we were in a wheel for a few days on this past trip, the northwest part of northwest part of the country, which is a more arid and has a lot more Arab influence. And so the houses there look very different than in Mavolo. And we noticed that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But you would say that they were all really built with similar, I guess, substance, or? Yeah,
there's they're very similarly simplistic compared to our standards here in the U.S. That's the understatement of the world. I mean, it's wild, right? Like, this is the year 2025, and still 90-ish% of the population of South Sudan lives in this very rudimentary mud brick or mud huts. So some of the kind of the newer styles coming in, especially that you'll see in the north of South Sudan, is this more like brick with plaster look.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of our staff are even starting to build those kind of houses. So it's like mud fired bricks that are, locally made, and then they have a plaster that they put over it with iron sheets on top, mapati, as some call it. And what's interesting about that is that's progress for sure in South Sudan, but the mud hut is far better from a climate perspective and a temperature perspective, because those plaster wall buildings in that heat without AC and without fans are really, really hot. And so I almost prefer a mud hut because it's sort of designed to, like, that's how they've been doing it for 2,000 years without AC there,
Yeah. Which is incredible that you can walk into a mud hut, and oftentimes you have to like duck down because the door is so short. But as you get in, it's so much cooler. And it's because the thatch roof. It's because the airflow that is. And so just to explain to our listeners too about what thatch is, it's actually just grass.
Yeah, grass.
But you have to have a certain type of grass. It can't just be, let's go to the...
Yeah, it's not St. Augustine, that's for sure. It's the tall grass that you might imagine if you were picturing like the Serengeti. And wildebeest roaming the Serengeti, that tall grass, that's what it is. I don't know the exact name of it, but... Yeah,
and you have to replace it actually if not every season, every few years. So I remember actually when I lived there, we went out to do a grass run. So we took our car, we went deep into the village, and we went to a house that was selling it. And so what they do is basically they go out on their land, they cut it down, they bundle it up for people to come and pick it up.
Yeah.
Which is really amazing that they can have a business like that. But the thing is that you have to, to have a house like this, you have to get the roof such as that. And so you have to have the money to even buy the grass.
Yeah. Or you're like have the time and the skill set to go out, and like that's what you're doing for a couple of weeks a year. You're going out to the bush, the forest, and you're cutting your own grass. These are folks that live deep in the village. They're building their own houses, and they're bundling their own grass thatch.
Also, another way of building, and I actually have a picture at my house of the roof because I think the roofs are just so beautiful. But inside, you actually see it like woven together, that they use mosquito net oftentimes, or they use, especially in town, like a tire rope, and so they use it and they like tie it all together, and it's actually like a really beautiful design. But also, like you said, I mean, they've been doing it for years and years and years. I think even just seeing the technology, or even just the advancement of, or not advancement, I would just say even the uniqueness of design is just so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
That's why I don't ever think, like, it's a kind of striking stat to say that 90% of the people in South Sudan still live in mud huts. And I think it's maybe better for them to advance past that, but it's not like objectively better. Like, there is something really beautiful about it that is not worth overlooking. Now if you were telling a modern day South Sudanese that, they would say, no, we want for our people, we want better than that. And I understand that perspective as well, but from our perspective, I kind of what you're saying, I find a lot of beauty in the way that they build. There are certainly better houses that they could build to make them more like sustainable to bad weather and to flooding and all that kind of stuff, right? But those kinds of houses need to sort of like in that kind of climate, like you need AC or else it's just like going to be impossible to live in it. And so in some ways, until the infrastructure of sewage and electricity and all that it's going to be hard for a lot of South Sudanese to build the more like firm structures.
Well, even let's talk about like what a compound looks like, or even a mud hut. So also in America, you would think like, oh, this mud hut has like 3 rooms. The kids live here, the mom and dad live here, here's the kitchen, all of that. It does not look like that. So if you want to share what it actually looks like.
Yeah. A mud hut is not like a house with a sitting area and a room. It's one room. So if you want the kids to have a room, then they have a hut. If you want the mom and dad to have a room, they have a hut. If you want a kitchen, that's a hut. you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you need a storage area, that's a hut. And the storage areas are really cool, actually. They do build those somewhat differently. They elevate them. So earlier you're talking about elevation for flooding. That's more like they raise like the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And these storage huts, where what I like to call the kitchen hut, as I was pointing out to the team, they're on like stilts and they're raised and they have a ladder going up and they store their grain there. And those are beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I love those.
Also, have you seen the chicken coops?
Yeah.
Yeah, that they're elevated like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not like one big mud house. It's literally like this is a room. And then some compounds have an animal, like a barn hut as well. And that's kind of interesting to see. That those are pretty large circular structures, and you'll walk into them and there'll be cows and goats and stuff inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes the shepherd the shepherd's son will sleep in there with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Also, fun fact with the Dinka culture specifically. So the man has his own hut, and the women and children have their hut.
Yeah.
So they are actually not sleeping in the same hut together.
Yeah, they don't sleep in the same hut usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, very 1950s. Very I Love Lucy.
I know. I always like to share that in presentations, and the guys always get a good chuckle.
Yeah, and then of course you have the polygamist households.
Yes.
And so those can look a couple of different ways. Sometimes it's the two wives live on the same compound together. I don't know if that's more rare than the alternative that I've seen, which is the wives have different compounds entirely.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it both ways, and I can't, from my anecdotal experience, say which one's more common.
Mm-hmm.
But in recent experience visiting men who have multiple wives, it's that they have two different compounds for their two different families or three different families.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. I think something I would love to point out too is, as you had talked about sewage and we talked about lack of electricity, but really if they do not have a latrine, which is a deep hole into the ground.
Yeah, think of an outhouse.
Yes, an outhouse. Then what do they do for the restroom?
They wait till it's dark and they go close to a footpath, unfortunately, and defecate there.
Yeah, it is it is just a different way of living.
Yes, you should be very careful how you walk down footpaths in South Sudan.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But yes, so that is something, I mean, I think even development wise, I would love to see more of South Sudan.
I agree.
Is having latrines, even just latrines.
Yeah,
period.
I mean, a pit latrine is a perfectly acceptable way to to from a sanitation and hygiene perspective to have a restroom facility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of the challenges with it is if you have a permanent compound and you're really establishing that, then that does have a time limit on it. Like, you know, if you build a 15-foot deep by 3-foot square, after a couple of years of 15 people using that on a compound, it's going to fill up, you know, frankly, to get quite graphic. And so you have to the South Sudanese are thinking about like, well, how much money do I invest in the outhouse portion that's over this hole? Can I build something that can be moved and torn down once this hole fills up and I have to move it somewhere else on my compound? There's also a lot of like cultural sort of mores or shames around where the bathroom is. Like one of our staff members, they've built their compound and they have their latrine on the edge of the compound of their property, but the government is redrawing their property boundaries and shifting it to the north, meaning now their latrine is going to be in the center of the compound, which is a shameful thing in their culture. Right?
Yeah.
And this is not something that we think about. And that's outside of their control. We Americans would think, well, what's the big deal? Do you just move the compound a little bit? The bathroom will be in the middle, no big deal. But in their culture, that's a shame. You know, you want the bathroom to be very far away.
Yeah, totally.
And if you
makes
notice
sense.
on our compounds, they build bathrooms on the edges, right?
Yeah.
Where for us, like in a wheel, our new compound, it would have just made so much more sense to have a bathroom like in the center of the compound, because that's where the houses, that's where the buildings are, the facilities, the radio studio and the accommodation. But the bathroom is like on the other side, like 200 yards away.
Yeah.
That's because it's they're not supposed to be in the center.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay, so on the lines of hygiene, let's talk about showers.
Yeah.
What does a shower look like?
Not a lot of compounds have showers.
Mhm.
Definitely not showers. So they just have they go get, maybe they have a spot on their compound where they will take a shower. Some of them will have like a grass thatch, not grass, different than like the roof, but that like grass mat
Yeah, grass mat.
around. That's kind of a shield. To the listener, I'm making a circle with my hands that Tianna was very impressed by. And they have the woman will bring a jerry can in there. They have a tip to toe and a teacup bath,
Mm-hmm. What'd you call that?
Tip to toe in a teacup. So your head to your toes. This is the old missionary way.
That's funny. Yes.
Without a shower. So you just get a teacup and you just dump it over your head.
Okay, you want to know the hilarious? Okay, I was on my mission trip, and
Your vision trip?
yeah, my vision
Okay.
trip. Oh yes, sorry, vision trip. So I'm like, all in, let's go, I'm moving there, so cool. So they're like, okay, yeah, you can go take a bucket bath, or tip to toe teacup. But the thing is, nobody taught me. Like, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I literally was dumping dirty water over me, and so I got out, and my hair was just super
you
gross.
weren't using you were just like the
No.
water was falling back into the basin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure. Yeah, there
hilarious.
are some techniques that we could take offline if anyone's interested for a teacup bath. But on our every village compounds, we have all three of our compounds right now have running water showers, which is nice. So in some of them, the showers they're plumbed from the water tank, and then the one that's in Antange, in a wheel in Mavolo, we have these oil drums that our staff fill up every day with water. It's pretty amazing, 55 gallons, and it's even heated. So there's 2 water tanks,
oh, that's
and
cool.
they light a fire underneath and heat it. So then we were just there in Mavolo, and every single morning at 5:30, our staff were making a fire to heat hot water for us. It was amazing, and then at night too. So
That's incredible.
Yeah, so I think that's also part of the progression that a lot of South Sudanese families would look for before they start building like brick houses. Is like, like you're saying, can we have a better version of a latrine that's more sanitary? Can we have a better version of a shower that's still very local feeling? Like it might just be a drum on a stand with water in it, but at least it's a running shower. That could be kind of the slow improvement that they start seeing.
Yeah.
On compounds.
No, that would be amazing. I mean, even just hand washing stations. And I know that's something that Che,
community health evangelism.
Thank you. That they are really big into is teaching hand washing stations, which I think is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, if any of our listeners are more interested or wanting to get more information about what does a mud hut look like, we are happy to send you photos and to talk anytime. So if you are interested, feel free to reach out to the partnership manager himself.
Please do. Yeah, we have lots and lots of pictures. And so, yeah, email me, blake.jones@everyvillage.org if you're interested. Of course, you can type it into Google, but we've got a lot of pictures from just being on the ground and being on the compounds of our staff as well. And even pictures of our own compounds that you can kind of see what's different. Also, there's a resource called Dollar Street that is out on the internet, and maybe Tianna, you could post the link to the South Sudan Dollar Street page. That every village actually is provided the sole content for South Sudan for Dollar Street, and it's something that allows you to compare what different like monthly income levels look like across the world. It's a really cool resource that was birthed out of this book called Factfulness, and a lot of us on the staff have read that book, and we're really it really impacted the way we think about how the world is developing. Well, they didn't have South Sudan, and so we reached out and asked if we could provide the data for the South Sudan portion on it. And so our awesome staff member Chetjathian did research and took pictures, and it's really cool. So we'll put the link in the podcast notes.
Yeah, for sure. That's so good. That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Blake. It's always fun. I feel like our podcasts tend to be just a fun little conversation.
Yeah, I like that. That's the way I like it.
Yeah. So thanks so much. I appreciate you. Absolutely. All right. We invite everyone back to the next episode. It's going to be a good one. As we answer the question, how does the gospel translate in an honor-shame culture? Take care.
Bye-bye.